The following is an exclusive presentation of WI Garden Media, the voice of Garden Talk Radio.
Coming up on the program today, we're going to discuss understanding nutrients in your garden, as well as building a wildlife habitat on your property. Our guest is author Nancy Lawson will be with us, and will answer your garden questions. The hour is full, so join us.
You are listening to the most informationally packed hour of garden-focused radio in the country and on the internet with your host, husband and wife team Joey and Holly Baird. This is the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
And welcome to another edition of the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. So happy you've chose us to be part of your day. I am your host, Joey Baird. Beside me is my wife, co-host, best friend, and gardening partner,
Holly Baird.
This program is for you, about you, to help your garden grow better, to maintain your landscape, grow healthier trees, make your grass look greener, as well as preserving what you grow. Happy you're tuning in, whether you're doing that on one of the 18 or AM, FM frequencies broadcasting our program here in 2024 through our parent website, which is thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com, under the Season 8 tab at the top of the page. In-studio video replay, podcast download. Thank you so much for doing such. If you want to be part of the program, outside of just listening and watching and downloading, you can, and on the radio and listening to it, you can send us an email to gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. You can send that over. Ask your question. Let us know where you're listening from. You can also give us a call toll-free, coast to coast, at 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-7469. Before we get in the program, Holly, it's time for this week's joke of the week.
Why was the cucumber mad?
Something about he got pickled?
He was in a pickle.
Oh, he was in a pickle. Mm-hmm. I've got a bonus one for you.
Okay.
How do spiders communicate?
Through the interweb or something?
Through the World Wide Web.
World Wide Web.
Yeah.
Okay.
These jokes are brought to you today by Rescue.com.
American-made rescue products keep your family, home, and yard protected from pest insects like wasps, hornets, yellow jackets, flies, ants, and more. You can find out more at rescue.com. That's RESCUE.com. So we're going to talk about what's in our soil, basically.
Understanding soil nutrients. And there's all different types of things that are going on in the soil besides what we may think we know. The big three, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. There's a lot of other stuff happening in the soil.
Yeah, and I mean, when we talk about what's in your soil, obviously there's like organic matter, there's decomposers, dirt, there's decomposers, blah, blah, blah. We're talking about the nutrients.
Actually, I think soil is the proper term, not dirt. Dirt is like is dead soil, and soil's live.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so in this case, we're referring to the nutrients that exist in your soil. So the first one we have is nitrogen. Nitrogen is a key element in plant growth. I mean, obviously these all are, but it is found in plant cells, plant proteins, hormones, and chlorophyll. So this is what creates like the main building block of plants. It's the green parts. It is what helps with the chlorophyll.
Without nitrogen, you get your green, you get your yellowing color in your pigmentation of your peppers or your eggplants or your tomatoes.
Yeah, and it also, is it the corn? Did we add a bunch of nitrogen?
We had a lot of nitrogen when we did corn because it is such a heavy feeder. So that's the big one. Potassium is also, it helps transfer energy from the sunlight to the plant, and early root and plant growth. It helps in that aspect as well.
The phosphorus, that's the P.
Yeah, the P, the phosphorus.
Did we say nitrogen is the N?
In it, yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure we covered that part.
Wherever you're listening from in the world, NPK, same three letters, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium are all the same, universal, anywhere in the world. One of the few things in the world that is the same no matter where you're at.
Yes. So then for phosphorus, yeah, so we covered that, and then we're going to talk about potassium. My brain got stuck.
Potassium, that's what people think is in bananas, that you soak them in water and then you water your plants, and it's the best thing since
Sliced bread.
Biblical times, you know.
Sliced bread.
Yeah, sliced bread, which is a false garden myth. Doesn't do anything. So don't soak your banana peels. Put them in the compost pile or bury them.
You could. I mean, just for funsies,
for funsies. But don't expect what you read online. Oh, we did that. We do that to all the plants, and they're just phenomenal.
Because I was gonna water my story time. I was gonna water my my plants on the porch, and I had a bucket of water ready to go. I was going to do it on my lunch or something, and I put I had a banana, you need a banana, we put it in there. And in that time, from the morning to my lunchtime, it did get kind of banana smelling. So.
Yeah, but the potassium volume of potassium per unit would not have even been registering.
No.
Because the banana
didn't hurt my plants.
No.
Anyway, they appreciate the watering. So potassium, that is it moves like the sugars, the starches, etc. around the plants. And it can improve the fruit quality. So I always say it's for the fruit and the root, and that's what it's for. It helps that. So then those are the three main nutrients.
Well, also potassium can be also substituted, or the verbiage can be potash, because in the day that you would take the ash and put it in a pot and then take it to the garden. That's where they get that terminology from. In large agriculture, it's still considered potash, not potassium. Poundage of potash per acre is how it's figured.
Okay, so yeah, we got the K there, so that's the NPK. Those are the three major elements, nutrients, whatever you want to call it. So we're gonna move on to the micro ones. So we got calcium. If you are looking for it, it's a capital C and a lowercase a. Or otherwise, it should just say calcium, and this is good for root health. Growth of new roots and root hair. So the calcium helps that the root. So that's
there you go.
Yeah. Then we have magnesium, and that's the M, capital M, lowercase g. It helps with the chlorophyll, the green coloring of the plants, and it is vital for photosynthesis. So that's, if you don't know what photosynthesis is, it's what the process of the plant getting the energy, the life from the sun, and then turning that into the plant. That's kind of is what breaks it down. Yeah. So we also then have sulfur, and sulfur is the capital S on the bag or the package or whatever. And it's
now some of these may not actually be labeled.
Yeah.
But in that aspect.
But if you are looking at a bag and you're like, what does all this mean? This is kind of the breakdown.
And if you go to ivorganics.com, they have specially blend fertilizers that actually contain more than the NPK. It's the NPK plus the calcium, magnesium, and the sulfate. And that's ivorganic.com. And you use coupon code RADIO at checkout and save 10% on your order. That's ivorganic.com and use radio at checkout to save 10% on your order.
Right. Okay, so sulfur is a bunch of amino acids put together, and it just gives it energy producing elements.
Yeah.
Now, if your sulfur is low, it's not really a problem if you have a soil high in organic matter. So if you have like a very
and
rich,
how do we know this?
Rich organic soil. Maybe you bought a rich organic soil,
or a soil test from Soil Savvy.
Yeah, that's good too.
Not that we are pushing sponsors, but to be clear, these are the people that pay the bills in order for us to be heard on your radio station, and they are products in which we use and we trust. We don't push products that are junk.
Right.
That's
absolutely.
why we've gone 8 years and be able to finance the show through real sponsors and not fly-by-night people.
Absolutely. All right. So then those are those nutrients we just covered: the calcium, magnesium, sulfur. Was that the three of them? Yeah. Those are like the macronutrients. Then we have like these further trace element nutrients that occur in your soil, and they are, I don't want to say lesser because this makes up all of your soil, and you want all of these things in your soil. So iron, that's, if you're looking at the bag, it'll be capital F, lowercase e. It does help regulate and promote growth, and it's there. It's good. Iron in our bodies is good. It's also good in our soils. Manganese is the capital M, lowercase n, and it helps again with photosynthesis. sometimes it lacks in, if you have a sandy soil, it can be lacking. So if you know that you have sandy soil and you want to get a soil test done, maybe that would be kind of fun.
There's about 30 vitamins and minerals in macronutrients that humans need to consume regularly. Also, that means the soil needs the right amount in order for the plants to uptake, in order to get the right vitamins and minerals, in order for us to eat better.
Yeah.
The vegetables have lost so much over the last 100 years because the density of the soil and the density of the plant, and we've lost so many varieties too. They've been commercially, in some instances, purposely extinct, in which they don't store well, they don't travel well, so we don't need to grow them anymore, that type of thing.
Right. All right. So then that was the manganese. Then the copper is... It's just there. It's I lost my
copper. Cu. Copper is an essential element there.
Enzymes. Some of this stuff is just like
there's zinc and boron and many different other ones here you can look at, and you can do a soil test and figure out what you have and what you don't have. And it is crucial. It's not, you have these in your soil. If you've been gardening, you have these in your soil to the level in which would be needed to up your game to get the proper availability for your plants. That I don't have an answer to. That's what part of the soil test is for.
And I think that it's good to note that you might, just because you have a lot of organic matter or you see a lot of worms or whatever, doesn't mean that your soil is necessarily the healthiest or has the most nutrients. It is good to know what's going on in your soil from time to time.
Because anything that's growing in your soil, weeds, vegetables, fruit, it's taking nutrients out of the soil. It's depleting the soil. So you're going to have to either put it back in, add something to it to get that back to the point of, okay, we're back to net zero now. We're back where we was before we started planting this year in order to get the best opportunity. It is an investment, just like anything else you do. Whether you've got housing or you've got rentals or you collect cars or whatever it is, you're investing. You're putting something into it in the hopes that maybe A, you're going to get something out of it, or two, for the pure enjoyment of this is what I accomplished. I was able to grow stuff to feed my family.
Right. So speaking of that, feeding your family, we're brought to you today by the sponsor, Walton's Inc. Listen, we know you care about where your food comes from. Canning and preserving your fruits and vegetables is great, but what about the meat? At Walton's, you can get all the equipment, seasoning, and supplies to make sausage, jerky, and any other meat product your way to your high standards. If you want to make snack sticks that people will actually like, then you can go to meatgistics.com, an informational site to help you make the best finished product. Walton's even has a full line of their own meat grinders, mixers, and sausage stuffers to help you go from animal to edible. Walton's, everything but the meat. You can use code GROW50, that's GROW50, to save 10% off your orders of $50 or more.
When we return, building a wildlife habitat on your property. You're tuned in to the Garden with Joey and Holly radio show.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
Deer Defeat is an all-natural based animal repellent to keep deer and rabbits away from your valuable plants that is odorless after 30 minutes and dries clear. It creates a continuous, invisible shield to protect your plants. Works for 30 days through rain, snow, and freeze. Will not clog your sprayer. Apply to your property without environmental damage. You can spray directly onto your plants up to flowering, then apply around your plants to continue protection. No need to reapply. Money back guarantee. To purchase, go to deerdefeat.com and use coupon code RADIO to save 10% off your order. Mantis tillers, the premium long-lasting gas-powered tillers, are the perfect solution for any garden. This Mantis machine is available with 2 or 4 cycle engines with a 19-inch or 16-inch tilling width. Your DIY companion in your garden and your lawn converts easily for edging, aerating, and more with optional attachments. Find details at mantis.com. Garden like a pro in 3 easy steps and receive customized fertilizer recommendations for your garden or lawn. Soil Savvy helps you determine what nutrients your plants need to thrive. Never again over-apply nutrients they don't need. A patented process that makes you a smart gardener. To get your soil test kit, go to mysoilsavvy.com. Make hand watering easy and enjoyable with HoseLink retractable hose reels. No more tripping over hoses, kinks, tangles, and avoiding rolling the hose up. With an automatic retractable hose link, saves you time and effort manually coiling up your hose, leaving your focus on the things that will bring you joy in your garden. Available in multiple colors and lengths, you'll be sure to find the retractable hose that works for you. To find out more and to buy online via hoselink.com, use coupon code RADIO10 for $10 discount. Dig planting holes from a comfortable standing position. Step, twist, pull, and plant. Visit ProPlugger.com.
If you could double the life of your raised bed boxes by sealing the wood with a clear, non-toxic wood preservative, would you? Well, now you can with a clear, penetrating product called Internal Wood Stabilizer. It's 100% non-toxic and easy to apply. Seal your untreated wood surfaces, even chicken coops, by spraying on Internal Wood Stabilizer. It's invisible, seals the wood from the inside out, and never wears off. Recommended by organic gardening experts, Internal Wood Stabilizer. Check it out at timberprocoatingsusa.com. Welcome back to the Garden with Joey and Holly radio show. Moments away, building a wildlife habitat on your property. But first, a word from our good friends at Honeybee Healthy, in which you can also help build a habitat for bees on your property.
Since 2000, Honeybee Healthy Inc. has helped beekeepers maintain healthy and thriving hives, attracting pollinators to your garden. This year is as simple as hanging a hummingbird feeder with a mixture of sugar water and Honeybee Healthy Original. Don't be alarmed to see birds, bees, and butterflies dining together at the feeder. Pollinators coexist peacefully. Honeybee Healthy is offering a 10% discount on an 8-ounce bottle of Honeybee Healthy Original to this show's listeners. Enter discount code BEEGARDEN, that's BEE Garden, at checkout. For more information, mixing instructions, and to purchase products, visit honeybeehealthy.com.
And all the coupon codes you have heard or will hear throughout the program available at our website, our parent website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com. Under the Money tab at the top of the page, they are all listed for you.
All right, so
building a wildlife habitat on your property. First of all, why would one choose to do that when they may consume what you are trying to grow?
Well, this will hopefully offer an alternative to them consuming what you're trying to grow. It will provide them a nice home,
their happy space, and leave your happy space alone.
Yeah, okay. And I feel like if you are growing a garden, you should want to coexist with the ecosystem that you're living in, and that includes animals, and that includes wildlife. Now, I'm not saying that, but
it should be expected that there is going to be some crossover.
Yes.
Even if you don't have habitat, there's some expectation that there's going to be some consumption of what you're trying to eat and grow.
I'm not saying you should let deer run wild and eat your tomatoes and whatever else, and utilizing something like a fence around that particular part of your garden is an excellent idea. But you can do simple things like providing water. So birds, bees, all sorts of insects, they do enjoy water. You could do a simple bird bath. You could do a little bee bath. You could do, like, if you wanted to get kind of fun and fancy, do some sort of fountain situation. There's a lot of options these days of things you can, like water elements.
A little pond with a solar mister in it or a fountain in it. And put that kind of away from where your area is.
Right. And like I said, there's a lot of options these days for water elements in your garden. So definitely think about that.
And it makes a big difference whether you are in the heart of the city versus the suburbs, where you've got some woodline where you're going to have more of the deer or coyote or possibly raccoon possum entering your property than in the heart of the city, where you may just have bees and birds and humming birds or the possible random fox or possum.
Right. So then you want to offer natural food sources. So native plants provide this for most pollinators.
Don't put feed out for them.
No. You don't want to do that. You can do a bird feeder situation.
In the situation in which, if you're in an area where black bears or bears are not in your geographical area.
You want to make sure that you are if you know that there's a risk.
Yes.
You're aware of that risk. Now, most people in the city aren't going to have to worry about black bears, but so you want to...
Cautionary measures.
Yeah, you want to be aware. If you're like in the city, you're not going to have to deal with black bears. If you are out further in a black bear territory, then that's something to keep in mind. But native plants, now you're like, I don't know what native plants I can grow. You can oftentimes go to a local independent garden center. They can help you. You can contact your local university extension. You can go online and type in native plants and put in your zip code or your city or your state, whatever it may be. And planting these native plants also will help. It's not going to eradicate invasive plants, but it will kind of slow down the growth.
With these native plants, these are perennials, which means they come back year after year. So once you get them planted, purchased, and established, kind of takes care of itself. Because in the wild, we don't have little gnomes or trolls going out and trimming off bushes at the end of the year in order to get them to grow better the next year. Not that I'm aware of. And we've got some property and we've got some trail cameras. Not yet have I seen a gnome or a troll go through the woods and do a little trimming.
That's because they're lower.
We don't see, like Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Never comes close because the electrical forces of the trail camera, they know about it and they don't. Okay. Right.
They like hide behind.
They hide. Yeah. Okay.
All right. So you want to skip the lawn chemicals.
Yes.
So this is a big one. A lot of people don't realize that using these chemical fertilizers, pesticides, etc., can be harmful to not only wildlife, but pets and children. I mean, if you're walking through your neighborhood, you'll see those little signs.
Oh, you can smell it.
You can smell it, but you can see those little signs that say, like, keep pets and children or whatever off of this. And it's like, obviously, if it's not good for your pets or children.
And they do that at schools, too.
Yeah. It's not good for wildlife.
And if you're going to utilize the grass clippings for compost, you can't do that either with the weed and feed or that chemical that's being sprayed by the green people. It's not utilized because it will stay in the leaf. It's so persistent that it's going to toxify your soil in the garden.
Right. So then let's talk about and this is kind of like definitely very much your mileage may vary depending on your situation, your neighbors, if you have an HOA, whatever, is letting your grass grow a little bit and having even like a mini prairie situation, which was it last week we talked to somebody who was growing a prairie? I don't know. I forget.
But there are certain towns now. I know that these locations, they are not part of an HOA, and I don't know how you get through that move. But they have their whole front yard, their side yard, their back. It is just a prairie. The flowers. I mean, these things are 5-6 foot tall. And there's I know two in two different towns where you drive by and it looks really pretty, but you can't hardly see the house because everything's so tall. And so they've clearly got some type of either national certificate to do this or approval through the DNR or something in which to benefit the habitat.
There are people who have these like official butterfly or native pollinators, etc.
Garden zones.
Zones, yeah. So who knows? So this is going to sound a little nutty for some people, but building a brush pile. Now, you want to be aware if you
the beavers?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Not build a dam. You're building a brush pile.
But learn from the beavers. They know how to build stuff.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They do. They're pros at that. But you want to build a brush pile. So if you take like some leaves, tree limbs, etc., and put a little brush pile, it does prevent shelter for a lot of insects. They do like the brush piles. It also can provide some shelter for some wild animals. And this is something you might want to do a little research on because I'm not going to lie. Like if you're in the city, it might provide shelter for like rats and mice, but you don't know that.
Rabbits and quail.
Yeah, it could be rabbits and quail.
Yeah, because that's the big thing. Whenever Grandpa would talk about hunting, you always want to go down a fence row where all this brush has been collected because they've trimmed the trees. Rabbits live under brush and quail will live under cover as well.
So that is something that, depending where you live, and again, all this is depending on where you live and your wildlife that's in the area. So keep that in mind, but it is an option. Be a friend to the bees, and as we had mentioned, let the native plants grow. Don't use the Be aware of your chemical usage. Make them a bee bath, a bee watering. What's that called? A bee bath.
Bee bath.
Yeah. So those are some options there.
And if you're not in the position in which you can create a habitat for wildlife on your property, one thing you can do is at the end of the growing season, do not clean your garden out, bare soil, walk away, I'll see you next spring. Leave debris in the garden. Throw leaves in the garden. Allow it to allow a place for insects and bugs to hibernate or live over winter. When you clean everything out, bare soil, and put it on the curb for the people to take away, or you burn it all, you've eliminated a whole season worth of building an ecosystem for your garden, good and bad bugs. There's a coexistence of both of them. You have to have both, otherwise it doesn't work. But allowing some stalks, corn or sunflowers or whatever it is, so they can burrow into the stalk and survive the winter, that is a way in which you can help in your area if creating a habitat is not something you want to do to introduce animals into your property, or you can't do for a variety of different reasons.
Right, absolutely. So yeah, be the friends of the bees. Now put up a bat house. This probably seems scary for some people. Bat houses are for the fruit bats. They are magnificent pollinators. They do need homes. You're not going to get swarmed with bats because you usually put it in a place that's away from you anyway on your property. But also, those fruit bats aren't going to swarm you anyway.
Proper placement of it is important. A lot of good resources online. Real quickly, before we get out of the segment, let's talk about keep cats inside.
Yeah, so cats are little teeny tiny.
They're hunters. That's what they are.
Bloodthirsty hunters, yeah. And so they can really mess up an ecosystem because they want to hunt the wildlife, and that's their instinct. So I'm a firm, I have a cat, we have a cat, firm believer of keeping cats indoors. It's where they belong for
It's
many
different
reasons.
if you're on a farm and you have
might need them.
barn cats to control rodents and stuff. Yeah, that's different. We're talking about
the city. Yeah. And there's all these scientific studies about, let's call them city house cats, and how many birds and other wildlife that they do kill just even in one evening. And so you should keep your cats inside, especially if you are in a city or a suburb. It's safer for them, it's safer for the wildlife, and you won't lose your pet to an unfortunate accident.
Right, because if they're a house cat and you try to get them to tame enough to go out in the yard and come back in, we've had a neighbor where he has done that and both cats have disappeared and didn't come back.
Right.
Well, Holly, summer is in full swing. Japanese beetles are wreaking havoc on anything they can get their get their mouth onto, and you're going to have to take control of that.
Yeah, if you're looking to successfully control beetles without damaging the environment, look no further than Beetle Gone from Phylum Bioproducts. Derived from a naturally occurring soil bacteria, Beetle Gone is the only organic solution that successfully controls beetle invaders. Just mix the powder with water and spray on your plants. Once ingested, the targeted pest will stop feeding and die. And since it's an organic BT product, it's a great choice to use on your fruits and veggies in addition to your ornamental flowers and trees.
Not only does Beetle Gone work, the best part about it, that it is safe to be used around just what we talked about. Butterflies, bees, ladybugs with zero water toxicity. That's Beetle Gone from BeetleGone.com. BeetleGone.com. Hang out with us when we return. Author Nancy Lawson will be with us. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Have a garden question? Give Joey and Holly a call now or anytime 24/7. Just dial 1-800-927-SHOW. If you can't get through, leave a message and they will call you back. Call now 1-800-927-SHOW.
Take the guesswork out of composting with the AeroBin 400 or smaller 200 for easy composting. The AeroBin mimics how nature decomposes waste. The AeroBin is easy to use. You prepare your balanced organic waste. Just open it up, drop it in, and close. After a short time, fertile compost is produced, which is easily accessed via the lower side door. The thermal insulation in the AeroBin conserves heat, leading to rapid breakdown of the biomass and works efficiently year-round, even in cooler regions. There is no need to turn the biomass, and it is pet and rodent resistant. It has little odor and can kill annoying weeds and seeds. It is BPA free. The Aerobin 400 or 200 comes with a reservoir at the bottom to collect the leachate. When diluted, makes for great compost tea liquid fertilizer. Aerobin composts kitchen and garden waste quickly. Easy to assemble with no special tools needed. The Aerobin makes composting rewarding and easy. Go to burpee.com or homedepot.com to purchase. Protect your plants from damage with the 3-in-1 Plant Guard and Special Blend Fertilizer. Visit ivorganics.com. Use promo code RADIO10 to save 10% off your order. Are you ready to take control of your home's comfort? With Mr. Cool DIY Direct, empower yourself with our top-notch do-it-yourself cooling and heating solution. Introducing the Mr. Cool 4th Generation Mini Split, the DIY-friendly way to keep your home perfectly comfortable all year round. Our systems come with everything you need for installation, including our patented pre-charge line sets, eliminating the need for expensive professional help. Visit MrCoolDIYDirect.com to learn more and to take the first step towards a cooler, more comfortable home. Don't forget, use promo code GARDEN for a special discount and free nationwide shipping. Mr. Cool DIY Direct. Cool your house, heat your space, all by yourself. Pomona's Universal Pectin is a high-quality pectin that gels reliably with low amounts of any sweetener. If you're trying to reduce the amount of sugar in your diet, you'll love Pomona's Universal Pectin. Now you can make healthy homemade jams and jellies sweetened to your taste. You can use sugar or honey to sweeten. Pomona's Universal Pectin keeps indefinitely when stored in an airtight container. Easy to use, versatile, and comes with directions and recipes in every box. Find out more and where to buy at PomonaPectin.com. Also available at natural food stores and online.
Rootmaker starts your plants off right and keeps them going through harvest. From their seed starting trays with an innovative design that air prunes the roots to their large variety of grow bags, 1 to 60 gallons. Their products will provide you the harvest you've never seen before. Visit rootmaker.com. Use coupon code ROOT24 to save 15% off your order at rootmaker.com. That coupon code is ROOT24 to save 15% off your order at rootmaker.com. Water supply tanks provide BPA-free, long-term safe storage for drinking water from 35 to 1,500 gallon tanks. Water supply tanks has you covered. From preparing for unexpected needs, off-grid property, easy gardening access, and more. For questions and to order, visit watersupplytanks.com and use coupon code GARDENING10 to save 10% off your order.
Wind River chimes will always be the inspiring harmony. With a large selection and customization options, you will find the sound that soothes you. Visit windriverchimes.com to shop and find out more.
Welcome back to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show. Happy you chose us to be part of your day. Holly, let's go to the hotline and bring in our guest for this week.
Nancy Lawson is a master naturalist, gardener, and author of a couple of books, including The Humane Gardener, Nurturing a Backyard Habitat for Wildlife, and also her recent book called Wildscape. She's also a columnist and for All Animals magazine. She's the founder of Humane Gardener as well. Welcome to the program, Nancy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, we want to thank you for taking time out of your day and not only to educate Holly and me, but all of our listeners.
So, Nancy, what is a humane gardener?
Well, it's someone who at least tries to see the world through the eyes of the animals living in their spaces, in their gardens, among the plants, and not just the species that everyone loves to love, right? Like the birds and the butterflies, but also beetles and rabbits and deer and frogs and bees and everyone else. Because that way, once you start to kind of try to understand how these animals are seeing the world, you can, and what their habits are and what their needs are, you can look at different ways to manage your outdoor landscapes and make them as hospitable as possible for wildlife, because a lot of them, of course, are having trouble now.
Right. So you kind of, here's what I want to do here. I'll give a little spot for the animals and we can coexist peacefully is kind of is that kind of the mindset?
Yeah, that's right. Welcoming them, and then also trying to prevent conflict or resolve conflicts humanely when they do come up, especially with mammals.
Go ahead.
So what are the tenets of humane gardening?
So there's a few kind of key principles that the book goes through and that I talk about a lot in my presentations. And one is to of course, native plants that wildlife have co-evolved with in your garden. Even if you have a vegetable garden, or no matter what kind of space you have, you can always add some native plants to it, because those are the things that the animals have evolved with. But I also try to help people see what they might already have in their yards. So a lot of times we're mowing down or digging out plants that are actually from the region that we live in, but people don't realize that. They think they're weeds, and those can be some of the most helpful plants for wildlife. And so nurturing plants, we're sort of trying to figure out what you've got, and then cultivating with care, meaning, avoiding harm as much as possible to the animals that are already living in your space. So, I think we've probably all had the experience where you're digging and all of a sudden you come across a toad or something like that. It's very easy to kind of accidentally go in there quickly with our power tools and harm animals unintentionally. So kind of moving more mindfully and slowly through the landscape when we can. And then supporting life in the decay. So incorporating that dead wood and the fallen leaves, these things that, fireflies need to lay their eggs, and bees need to overwinter in, and birds, nesting, and tree snags and things like that. And so there's ways to do that in even in a manicured space, incorporate those elements kind of artfully. And then creating a no hazard zone by mitigating unintended dangers. So things like, things that people don't tend to realize, like garden netting is supposed to protect plants, but it actually can if it's not taut and pulled tight, it can ensnare snakes and birds and other animals. And tree trimming, that often will inadvertently disturb bird nesting sites and other nesting sites. So being careful about when you do that. And then, as I mentioned, figuring out some humane strategies for conflict resolution when that does occur.
Absolutely. Tell us more about your books that you have available, with a synopsis of both of them, and what would intrigue our listeners to pick up copies.
Yeah, so the first book is very much on what I just talked about, and I wrote it with the idea of helping people kind of bridge that divide between, there were people at the time in my world who I knew were already gardening for wildlife and trying to welcome wildlife, but maybe only certain types of wildlife. And then there were people who really didn't want any animals eating their plants, and were in constant conflict. And so this book was kind of written to try to build a bridge between the two and show people how they can have wildlife in their spaces and also coexist with them. The second book, Wildscape, is on the sensory experience of plants and animals in your landscape, and how sometimes we might be disrupting them through odor pollution, light pollution, noise pollution. And so, so I spent a lot of time kind of just doing a lot of observation in my own habitat and looking at what the interactions were kind of on an intimate level between plants and animals, how they were vocalizing, how they might be using scent in the landscape to hide or to find food and that sort of thing. So that was, and I interviewed a lot of scientists and read a lot of studies to try to interpret what I was seeing. So that was the second book, and kind of a follow-up, I guess, to the first.
Well, I'll ask you this. What are some common challenges people may face trying to be humane gardening? And I bring that up as being you have a critter that, like a raccoon, that doesn't want to leave your area and causing problems, or you you deal with infestation of maybe bees or wasps. What is the best way, or how would you recommend addressing those situations?
Yeah, I think sometimes, we go all in right away and have an instant reaction to something. And sometimes that's understandable, when people have a fear or they feel encouraged upon. But oftentimes, first of all, patience is really important, because a lot of these animals are just moving through the landscape. They're not actually, people think, I've seen this skunk, now it means I'm going to have 50 skunks in my yard or something like that. But actually, you might see them once or twice and never again. These animals tend to hide. Snakes are here all over the place in our gardens, but most of us don't see them very often. For example, that's just one example of an animal that doesn't really want to be seen. And so I think learning a little bit about the natural history, there's very easy, quick information you can find online. The place that I used to work, where I first started learning about these issues at the Humane Society of the U.S., has some wonderful information on wildneighbors.org as the URL. And that kind of gives some background on the animals' life histories, their habits, and also some tips for addressing some of those conflicts are often just even perceived conflicts. Sometimes it's not really an issue at all, and you need to just step back and sort of assess what it really might be before doing anything about it. So I think the biggest challenge is a mindset shift.
That definitely makes a lot of sense. Now, I just want to switch gears. You are a master naturalist. What is a master naturalist? I know you're also a master gardener. A lot of people are familiar with that, but what is the master naturalist, and what is your, I guess, role or duty in society?
Yeah, well, so a lot of states have master naturalist programs, and it's usually in conjunction with a state agency like the Department of Natural Resources, and they'll do trainings. When your first year, you take 40 hours or whatever your state requires of classes, and in pretty much everything flora and fauna. So it's pretty much a fire hose of information, but mainly it just exposes you to the resources that are out there where you can learn more. And also the goal is to, just like with master gardeners, to train people who will be able to then go out and help educate the community about the flora and fauna who live among them. And so there's a lot of us volunteer at the nature centers and conservancies, and we advocate for like I joined our our Bee City campaign in our county, which focuses on advocating for native bees and helping people create more habitat for them. And so yeah, it's pretty much all things plant and animal.
So in your backyard, in your area, your landscape, what is an animal or insect that you like to see that other people may be like, oh, I really wouldn't want that in my area?
Well, it's funny you ask, because I haven't written about this yet, but I saw a couple of weeks ago. I thought it was so amazing. Have you ever seen a rainbow scarab beetle?
I have not.
I don't think so, no.
So lately we've had like more than usual numbers of piles of poop from raccoons and foxes and stuff in the pathways, and we're like, what is going on? But they get cleaned up quickly, and it turns out that this rainbow scarab beetle that we started seeing is actually kind of dung beetle.
Huh.
And and so they pretty much spend their whole lives in the poop. They take it, underneath. They lay their eggs in there, and so that's one example. I just love seeing like new creatures like that. It's fascinating to me. I love, people probably don't like. A lot of people don't like deer because they eat plants, but I've actually got a lot of planting strategies for just sort of sharing with them. And they do eat some of my plants, but we're completely filled to the gills with vegetation here. And so, and we weren't in the past. We had mainly lawn when we moved to our house. So, so I think, those are things there are things probably that I was scared to see when we first moved to our place. But as I started to kind of watch them and think about it and look at them up close, I realized that it's everybody else's home too. And they're probably way more scared of me than I am of them. So
right. And the neat thing about it, and as you get older, you learn this, we don't need really do anything with nature. It'll take care of itself. We're just here to observe what's going on.
Right. Yeah, it's so true. It's like the more you have that attitude, I think the easier it becomes.
Yeah, you don't have to try to feel like you're in control. It'll do its own thing. You just sit back and watch.
Exactly.
Well, Nancy, we greatly appreciate the time you've offered Holly and myself. How can people find out more about you and obtain your books?
Yeah. So I have a website, humangardener.com, and I have a newsletter and a blog there that you can sign up for. Or I'm also on social media, at Facebook and Instagram primarily. Just the handle is Human Gardener. And the books you can get, in a lot of bookstores or on Amazon or the other online retailers.
Well, Nancy, thank you so much for your time and your knowledge that you've offered Holly and myself. We appreciate that very much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And when we return, it's your garden questions and our garden answers. You're tuned in the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
Blue Ribbon Organics, providing locally made organic compost and soil blends for gardeners, farms, landscaping, and more. To find our products nearest you, visit blueribbonorganics.com.
Happy 65th anniversary to David J. Frank, Southeastern Wisconsin's leading landscape company. Their award-winning services include everything from lawn care, landscape maintenance, design, construction, renovation, irrigation, sustainability, and more. Big or small, let the experts at David J. Frank handle the hard work for you. Find out more at davidjfrank.com. Jung Seed Company is a family-owned and operated seed company since 1907 with the largest selection of seeds and plants online. Use coupon code 10TG24 to save 10% off your order at jungseed.com. That coupon code is 10TG24 at jungseed.com for 10% off.
Your mosquito frustrations are over. Now with Mega Catch, suitable for residential and commercial use. Mega Catch mosquito traps produce a vast array of mosquito-attracted stimuli, including safe CO2, and can attract mosquitoes and other biting insects up to 150 feet away. Easy to use and set up. The Mega Catch is ready to make your outdoor space comfortable and enjoyable at megacatch.com. Use coupon code JOEYB, my name Joey B, at checkout and receive 20% discount on your entire trap order at megacatch.com.
A non-selective herbicide that is also USDA BioPreferred certified? You bet. Say goodbye to Roundup and hello to No More Weeds by Naturally Green Products. No More Weeds kills weeds with no harsh chemicals and no glyphosate. Safe around pets, No More Weeds has a proprietary sticking agent to use around gardens, pools, decks, patios, anywhere there are weeds. Available online at natgreenproducts.com, Amazon, and Walmart.com, Order yours today. The same great company that brings you no more bugs.
Soil Diva Liquid Microbe Stimulant Spray improves the health of your plants you work hard to grow, stimulates the natural enzymes, and increases beneficial soil bacteria. Go to soildiva.net. Soildiva.net. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show. Thank you so much for choosing us to be with part of your day. Time for your garden questions, our garden answers. If you got a question, send it on over to gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. Or you can give us a call at toll-free, coast to coast at 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-7469. Also, if you do choose to go the email avenue and you are capable of doing such, please include a photograph. It will make the identification and the solution to your situation a little easier on our end. Had questions come in here, Holly? Let's go with this one. What is BT and what is it used for? I continue to see those abbreviations.
So BT is Bacillus thuringiensis, or BT, and this is a naturally occurring bacteria, and people use it as pesticides for pests. And what it does is for pests that attack the gardens. So what it does is it's typically used for caterpillars or soft-bodied insects, even like the cabbage looper, things like that. And you can... these are annoying pests in the garden. The cabbage looper eats the cabbage. Certain caterpillars will eat leaves right down to the veins, right? Things like that. So it's naturally occurring bacteria. It's used as a natural pesticide, and you can use it for its granules, sprays, even like plant dunks, things like that.
Well, yes, powder is good. But a spray application, if you do have a severe infestation of fill in the blank, a spray is better because you can get that up under the leaf. That's where most of your problems are going to begin, is under the leaf, where it's shady. That's where eggs are going to lay. That's where insects are going to hang out until the cooler part of the day. And a powder just doesn't work so well trying to shake it upwards.
No, powder is a little too fights gravity a bit too much.
Yeah,
it has no way to stick to the plant.
So proper material for a proper problem, and follow the directions. Just because it's natural doesn't mean more is better. Follow the instructions. That's why they're there. You can cause problems by adding too much of a natural thing as well.
If a little is good, a lot must be the best.
That is incorrect. Don't say that. You can't know.
No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Okay, why are the skins of my tomatoes so tough?
So it turns out that certain hybrid tomatoes, or a lot of hybrid tomatoes, do have a tendency to have tougher skin. Also, the smaller the tomato, the more likely you are to have tougher skin. So like cherry tomatoes versus beefsteak, just because of how their chemical makeup is, essentially. So that's another reason. Now, things like climate changes in your own backyard, maybe you had a lot of rain and then it stopped raining,
or you had a tree that wasn't there as in full last year as it is now, and shady, and it takes a longer time for the tomato to ripen. That can cause the skin to be tougher.
Right. Yeah. So that's another issue as well, or another problem.
And when we say climate change, it's not, we don't mean that, whatever you think is whatever you think. We're
talking about the climate change in your backyard.
Right. Shade versus sun. Something has encroached on it. You built an addition on the house that you didn't have last year, and there's a shady area that wasn't there, and you still plant like there's not. That type of...
Or you cut down a tree.
Cut down a tree, yeah.
Things like that. But also, I feel like, personally, we've had more rain this July than we have in other Julys.
But in certain parts, certain parts of the country, in other places, it has rained and then just shut off.
Right. But I mean, for us, so that could be occurring for you, and that could cause any plant to grow a little bit differently.
Well,
even if you do water consistently.
Right. Grandpa always says in the summer, you're 10 days away from a severe drought at any given time.
I believe it.
Yep. So this is my first time growing in containers. I was told to fertilize mid-season, and I did that. Do I need to replenish the soil next spring?
So, whoever, and I can't remember who asked me this question, they want to know if they had to dump out the soil, the container
soil,
and then get new soil. And I said, you don't have to do that. They're about 5-gallon buckets size. Yeah.
So it depends on the size of the container. If you're looking at a 1-gallon grow bag or a little terracotta pot, yes. If you're looking at a 5-gallon grow bag, 5-gallon bucket, 10, 15, et cetera, not necessary or less necessary. What you can do is, let's go with a 5-gallon bucket because that's what the initial question was referring to. You can take out the top half of that bucket or the top third of that bucket. There's still nutrient in that soil, but you can replenish the top portion, and some of that's going to decrease. I don't know where the soil goes, but in these containers, you can top it off, and by the end of the season, you're down 4 inches. You can take a third of that soil out of that 5-gallon bucket, put it in your compost pile, bring in a new batch of 1/3 top of that soil, and you can mix it in and then plant. We don't have to dispose of the whole container. That is a wasteful amount of soil. That is expensive amount of wasteful soil. So about 1/3 is about all you need to do. And the larger your containers, now let's say you got a Rootmaker grow bag that's 60 gallons from rootmaker.com. You can use coupon code ROOT24 to save 15% off your order. You're feeling that's a 12-inch high by 36-inch across container, grow bag. You don't need to dump any of that out. There's such a volume of soil. Because there's so much soil there's so many more nutrients and micros and bugs and worms. Don't add worms to your containers. Worms will naturally come in the soil, in the compost, worm eggs. So the larger your container, if you're using big grow bags, I've seen grow bags of 100 gallons. You don't have to do anything to that. Now, it is smart to use an organic fertilizer at the time of planting and do the proper amount in the hole at the time of planting. That's not going to hurt anything. But you don't have to waste your soil by just dumping it out.
Yeah, definitely. So the next question is my coworker told me that I need to trim my Brussels sprouts so that they grow better in the fall. I'm not really sure what that means, but when do I do that and how?
Okay, we're getting into that portion of the year where your Brussels sprouts should be getting some pretty good girth on them, vertical and horizontal. They should be really shrubbing out. About 45 days when you intend to harvest, or when you begin to see the tiny little sprouts begin to develop at the juncture of the stalk and the stem, the armpit, let's say, that is the time in which you want to top your Brussels sprout plants. What does that mean? Go down 6 inches from the top of your plant, take a shears or a scissors or a knife and just cut it off. You're going to stop vertical growth, and you're going to cause the plant to go in more of a stress situation in a good way. It's going to develop the sprouts. It's not going to work on keep growing taller. It's going to work on got to develop the sprouts. And that's what's going to happen. You're going to have very lovely, large golf ball size in most instances between large marble and golf ball size sprouts. Now, as they get lower to the ground, you're going to get smaller ones, but and it's also based on your variety too. But topping all your plants, when you start seeing that little bump between the stalk and the limb, that's the time in which you should top your Brussels sprouts. And we've done that year after year and had phenomenal Brussels sprouts in our garden.
Yeah, we have. And it's a really great method, and I fully support it.
Well, Holly, with that being said, we have run out of time, and it's time to discuss what we learned today.
So I learned that calcium helps with the root production of your plants. I didn't know that. And so I like knowing that it helps the root production.
I learned what a humane gardener was from our guest Nancy, a humane gardener, one that takes care, and we talked a little bit about this in the second segment. Takes care of the animals in your area. What we learned today is brought to you by Honey Bee Healthy.
Honeybee Healthy is serious about the business of bees and helping beekeepers maintain healthy and thriving hives. Whether you're a professional beekeeper or a bee hobbyist, we've got the products to help you maintain a healthy hive. Visit honeybeehealthy.com. Their products are made in the USA.
Tune into the program next week when we'll be discussing planting fall bulbs as well as fall tree care. Our guest is permaculture expert Daryl Frey will be with us. So until next time, for
Holly Baird,
I'm Joy Baird, and we will see you in the garden.